everybody, we're the good doctors of Abbey Research. I'm Dr. Erin.
I'm Dr. Kristen.
You are so exceptionally welcome. We can't really put it into words, although we keep saying it, how welcome you are to our content. We are two doctors. We believe firmly that curiosity and learning about other humans is the best way to change the world. So that's what we do here at Abbey Research. We do it in all kinds of ways. Podcasts, YouTubes, you name it. We like to talk about popped and lived culture from, what you can learn about the Olympics and mental health, the struggles of Olympic athletes, to whether Bridgerton actually dealt with diversity when it comes to body shapes. It didn't.
Not seen it.
Not so great. To our Colonizers World Tour, where we explore colonization and global cultures and societies. So we do all of that in service of our goal of curiosity and empathy building. We love to talk to each other. We have quite a great time doing it, but we also have a great time engaging with you folks. So do all the things on the platform that you feel like and subscribe, follow, join our community of commenters. Please comment and engage with us with your thoughts and feelings. We would love to hear from you.
Today we are talking about one of our Pantheon movies and one of Dr. Erin's soul movies. Just to understand that we both love this thing, but she loves it more. We're talking about the Disney film Miracle, which stars Kurt Russell in some fabulous pants, and the story of the 1980 U.S. men's ice hockey team and their defeat of the USSR at the Lake Placid Olympic Games. If you are an American person,
and you don't know this,
you have probably heard reference to this. You've probably heard somebody scream at some point, "Do you believe in miracles?" Because what it was in fact a miracle. It was out of fashion for just a touch of time. I met people who didn't know what the Miracle on Ice was, and now that we have this film, it seems to be much more in the national consciousness, which I'm grateful for because it is an incredible sports movie. We said in our coverage of Cool Runnings earlier this cycle that you have some of the great Disney sports movies. You've got Cool Runnings, you've got Remember the Titans, Mighty Ducks, 1 and 2. I would leave 3 out of that conversation, but Mighty Ducks and D2 both are quite good. Knuckle Puck, man, Miracle, and there's probably a couple others, but those are the kind of 5 we think of when we think of the inspo Disney movie. We will come up with a reason to talk about Remember the Titans. Don't worry.
Don't you worry.
Don't you worry. And probably Mighty Ducks, although that one will be the most stretchy. That one will be the most stretchy. We'll figure it out, though. Don't worry. Don't worry. We will shove that round peg into that square hole. But here's the deal, guys. To hear about this movie from me would be like getting like a Diet Coke to a full Coke. So I am now passing it over to our resident ice hockey expert and Miracle aficionado,
yes,
to cover the film.
The film, right. So if you're watching in an international capacity and you don't know this story, very briefly, the Soviets, as they were at the time the USSR, were really good at ice hockey.
They still are-ish.
They're good as an ethnic group.
Yeah.
They're not Olympic dominant as they were, but the Russian machine of winning, I think they won 3 consecutive Olympics between 1960 and 1978. 76? Yeah.
Also for the youths, we used to have the Winter and the Summer Olympics in the same year. So You've heard about the 1980 Summer Olympics. We're not lying. It was the 1980 Winter Olympics. We used to do this to ourselves. We don't do it anymore.
It was unkind.
Yeah.
So they pretty much dominated in that space. The U.S. was terrible. They won the Olympic gold in 1960, and then the Soviets just steamrolled everybody. And also we have the Cold War, which is a big part of this. I recently visited the Olympic and Paralympic Museum in my hometown of Colorado Springs, Colorado, where they would like to tell you that we try and keep politics out of the Olympics. We don't.
Never.
And that's, for me, why this story is so deeply relevant. I mean, it's a classic underdog story. Who doesn't love that? But it's also a lot about U.S. politics at the time and how we saw ourselves and how we saw the Soviets. And eventually see the Soviets, in this case, the Russian, the team, as human beings who who make mistakes and have thoughts and feelings. So it doesn't demonize the Soviets in a way that a lot of stuff in the past that we've made has done. So it follows the story of Herb Brooks, who was a coach at the University of Minnesota ice hockey program and was a member of the 1960 Olympic team until he was cut right at the end. So he didn't make the team. The team went on to win the gold medal. The story writes itself. Herb gets called to lead the 1980 Olympic team and walks into the trials with his team already picked because he does a lot of research. Causes a lot of controversy because he doesn't pick a lot of the big names. But it's a lot, this movie, I think, in terms of lessons we can learn about the importance of selecting people to work together and not individuals.
A lesson that the English Premiership team, the English national
football team,
men's football team has yet
took
to
a
learn.
really long time to learn.
From 1960 to 2021.
Took a long.
So we would encourage you to learn it faster
than
the English national team.
But it was countercultural at the time, especially when they were looking at the kind of the depth of the Soviet team. This was before we started using professional athletes or allowing professional athletes to be Olympic competitors. So all of the guys on the Olympic team for the United States were college age. I think the average age on the team was 21, 22. So very, very young, very inexperienced. Nobody picks them to win. Guess what? They won through teamwork and strength and belief. And it's a miracle on ice. That's why it's called the Miracle on Ice. They beat them in the semifinal match, 4-3, went on to win the gold against Sweden. And this movie, I mean, it's just a brilliant sports movie. You don't have to love ice hockey to love it. It deals a lot with the politics of what was happening at the time, which is interesting to me. It was a perspective I didn't have because I had just learned about the hockey game growing up in a hockey family and been just watching hockey all the time. I didn't necessarily think about it as much. So I liked the way the film uses speeches of Jimmy Carter and like this idea of what America was.
Yeah, because we were almost going to boycott this Olympics too.
Yes.
We did boycott the Summer Games.
We boycotted the Summer Games. We were going to boycott these ones and then the Russians, and then we didn't.
It was a whole thing.
It was a whole big thing. And it was a time collectively in our country where a lot of people needed something, I think, to believe in and to feel a collective sense of unity.
We don't talk about the Cold War enough.
We don't talk about the prolonged impact of it. We also had economic issues, an oil embargo and crisis that eventually led to the defeat of Jimmy Carter and the Reaganism of it all. But we get this like bright moment in Olympic sports history, and you get to see what these young men do. And similarly to what Dr. Kristen, she had a line from Cool Runnings that she shared with y'all that was really seminal for her. For me, the line that sticks out in this one the most is when Herb is trying to get them to see themselves as a team, as Team USA. There's a lot of mixed personalities. There's a lot of drama about players from Minnesota and Boston, which is still a really big thing. And they see themselves as individuals. And he tells them the name on the front is a hell of a lot more important than the name on the back. And it takes them a while to get around to that idea, but when they do, that's when they behave as a team. And it's a textbook example of understanding people's different strengths. Nobody in their right mind would have picked Mike Eruzione to be the captain of this team in terms of stats or talent or his achievements as a hockey player, but he had the soft skills that were necessary to lead this collection of humans. And so I think we can pull a lot from it in that way about how you have to be intentional in constructing a team. Herb Brooks, for as emotionally distant as he was from his team, was a very emotionally intelligent person and showed that in his leadership skills. And he had some of the most horrible and best fashion you will ever see is footage of Herb Brooks. He died when principal filming for this began, so he didn't. What they say at the end of the film, which I love, is he didn't get to see the movie, but he lived it. And yeah, it's that Olympic movie. why you should watch it.
We should also cast Kurt Russell and Patricia Clarkson together more often. They are very good together. I would want Patricia Clarkson in more things, just full stop. So that's my campaign for more Patricia Clarkson.
Oh, I literally have loved her in everything she's ever been.
Highlight for us is Easy A, where she's opposite Stanley Tucci and they play Emma Stone's parents. Spell it with your P.
With your P's.
In terms of Miracle, the topic actually at hand. So I've seen this. I am, for anyone who has not heard me say this before, a hockey fan by way of Aaron. So I grew up in a fairly hockey town, like Philly loves the Flyers, and we have some really good hockey in colleges around here. And it just wasn't, my father was a football, basketball, and baseball player, and then a golfer. And so those were kind of the sports. I grew up with baseball on all the time, in the way that she grew up with hockey on all the time. So I'm newer to the hockey culture, which I love so much that I walked into Miracle the first time. The only reason I went to go see it was a Disney sports movie.
Yeah.
And I came out with like, well before I met Dr. Erin, came out with like, oh, so I guess Boston and Minnesota is a big thing. So when I first met her, that was one of the first questions I asked her. So in Miracle, they say. So it definitely is not one that you need to understand or like hockey at all. Mighty Ducks is the same way. This is a human story of humans that happen to play a sport.
Yeah.
And the Disney is the best in the world at this gig of making these kind of movies.
Yeah.
For a reason. You're gonna love it, I promise. And even we are very open about the problematic jingoism of the Olympics and cheering for your country and kind of everything else. But there's also a power in understanding that an entire nation is behind you. As we filmed this, President Biden made his address to the Olympic athletes from this Olympic Games and said, like, you guys were the first thing we were all talking about that wasn't sad.
Yeah.
You were the first thing that we were all in a while that we were all having a conversation about that wasn't divisive. And thank you for doing that. And there's a real power to that.
Yeah.
And it's watch the movie. It's rad. I mean, honestly, Herb Brooks looks like he's wearing furniture most of the time, but like, it's so worth it.
It's so good.
And like all the guys are like, I just also love guys being like, giant groups of men are often like idiots together. And I love that vibe. Like, I love it.
And it's so much of it has become shorthand in my family because we understand like the hockey parlance, but like my kingdom to be able to walk up to people I know and go, "What's up, you sieve?" And like, it's just, I just love those boys so much. The actor, I can't even remember his name because we've just called him Jimmy Craig for like our entire
Eddie
life.
Cahill.
Eddie Cahill, yes. He was
Tag on Friends.
He was CSI. He was on CSI New York after Miracle came out for a couple of years. But every time I see him in something, I'm like, Jimmy.
Yeah. Jimmy Craig, how are you?
Attaboy, Jimmy. So I don't think anybody else has really done anything aside from Kurt. No, his name escapes me. Kurt Brooks.
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell.
And Patricia Clarkson.
Kurt
yes,
Russell.
both of them.
And your man who played Craig Patrick was on. Oh
yes.
The Russian thing, Cold War.
He's been on lots of things. The Americans. Noah Emmerich. He's been on lots and lots of things.
He's fantastic, and he's so good as Craig Patrick. I love it. We saw a screening of Miracle in Pittsburgh, and Craig Patrick, who went on to become a coach and general manager of the Pittsburgh Penguins, came and brought his gold medal, and Dr. Kristen got a selfie with him in the lobby. So exciting. It's one of those like collective movie experiences as well. If you get a chance to go to a screening, it's like The Princess Bride. Go to a screening of The Princess Bride, even if you've never seen it, because everyone in the theater knows all the words and it's hilarious. I remember vividly seeing this movie for the first time with my mom and cheering, even though I knew the outcome, like at every goal, because you feel like you are in that stadium with those boys. And it's one of those, like, the beauty of the cinema experience when, for a lot of COVID, we couldn't go to the cinema. Now that we can, a lot of people stream things at home, but it's one of those that's like, it's best viewed in that scenario where you can just
have experience it communally.
All the feels.
We have plans tonight, but we're obviously watching Miracle when we get home. So we hope we've encouraged you to feel the same way. This concludes our Olympic coverage. We are going to be watching the Paralympic Games And we invite you to join us as we follow the stories of the Paralympic athletes. They are often ignored as the television season grinds up again and people kind of think the Olympics are over. They are not. We get to go back to Tokyo for 2 more weeks. And we saw a preview last night of some of the stories from NBC. And we are so excited to cheer on these athletes and learn about these sports and learn about the accommodations. And we will be cheering alongside with you. We encourage you to join us. If you have an Olympic piece of art that you love, we would love to know. So make sure to comment whether we end up covering it or just end up covering it on our Instagram stories as we watch it together. We would be delighted to watch the things that bring you joy. So in the meantime, we would encourage you to remember, so Dr. Kristen benediction here, that your mental health is your health, that you are a human person first. And if you are in an organization that does not value that, agitate for them to do it. That who you are with your achievements isn't enough for you. If you don't feel enough, you won't be enough with it. Without them, you won't be enough with it. You've got to dig deep. Remember that sports are always political because humans are political. And so when Black and brown bodies show up in spaces that are only supposed to be white, things happen. And that miracles do too. We'll see you guys for our next series. Bye.
Bye.